Oh no, I didn't put enough gas in? Oh Jesus. Well, we're just gonna roll with it. Oh my god.
Welcome and thanks for joining me for the 7th edition of my Automobilista 2 tour of Brazil. The point of this series, of course, is to take the average sim racer who's not familiar with the Brazilian content of the game and show them a little bit about what they're missing out on. We've got a great car and track combo today. We'll actually be taking a look at our first prototype in the series and have a very fun circuit to pair it with. Let's get into it. Today we visit the Autodromo Internacional de Guaporé, located in Guaporé, Brazil. Among the oldest circuits in Brazil, Guaporé was first opened in 1969 as a dirt track. This 1.91 mile or 3.07 kilometer circuit was constructed on the site of a former airfield and utilizes the two original runways, which resulted in the recognizable T-shape of the track. Guaporé was converted to an asphalt circuit in 1976. At the same time, the track was reprofiled and many improvements were made to the overall infrastructure. The first international event held at the circuit was in 1985 as part of the South American Formula 3 Championship. Guaporé has hosted Stock Car Brazil in the past and was a longtime fixture on the Formula Trek calendar. However, despite a resurfacing in 2010, the need for other improvements to the overall facilities that have yet to be completed has led major series away to other, more modern circuits in the area. Guaporé features 7 turns, most of which are on camber. These banked corners provide extra grip and enables the maintaining of speeds that would otherwise be far more difficult to achieve. Joining us on track at Guaporé is the Metalmoro MRX. Metalmoro is a Brazilian company founded in 1982 as a go-kart manufacturer. The company progressed to producing full-fledged cars in 1999 with the launch of their first prototype, the Metalmoro MCR. They followed this up with the release of their second prototype, the Metalmoro MRX, in 2009. The MRX has been very successful in many regional series throughout South America, including the Imperio Endurance Brazil, a Brazilian multi-class endurance racing series. While not specifically listed as a class in AMS2, you can easily represent the Imperio Endurance Brazil series by setting up a multi-class race or custom championship using the P1, P2, P3, P4, GT3, and GT4 classes. Multiple versions of the Metalmoro MRX can be found in Automobilista 2 and are represented in the P2, P3, and P4 prototype classes. Today I will be looking at the P4 version, which is the Metalmoro MRX Duratec P4. This open cockpit, mid-rear engine, rear-wheel drive car produces 345 horsepower from a 2-liter, naturally aspirated inline-4 engine, which is connected to a 6-speed sequential stick gearbox. The MRX Duratec P4 weighs in at 1,698 pounds or 770 kilograms and does not feature traction control or ABS.
Alright, so here we go. Quick race in the Metalmoro MRX P4 here at Guaporé. We got on track with the MRXs as well as the MCR S2000 prototype, which is I believe a prototype built in Wales. And, this car, is great really to run as a multi-class race. You definitely can emulate that Imperio Endurance Brazil series. That seems like a pretty cool series as far as, if you like endurance racing. Brazil has a lot of great tracks as I'm going through. The whole point of this video is to show off things like those tracks. But I wanted to keep things a little simpler today, so I've only got the P4s out. And this is a car that, when I was planning on what cars I was going to include in this series, I instantly gravitated toward this, being that Metalmoro is a Brazilian manufacturer. And they do have several offerings within AMS2, but the P4 being sort of the, lowest level, if you will, or least speed, least power, however you want to look at it. This seemed like the natural starting point. But when I actually got in it to do, my testing, my first reaction initially was like, nope, this isn't going to work. This car is just, an absolute oversteery mess. I can't get through, 3 corners before I'm spinning out. And I started to kind of look elsewhere, but no matter what other cars I look at, I was drawn back to this just in that desire to, include not only the manufacturer, but have that more natural progression to what vehicles I feature. Because I think I might look at least one of the more powerful Metalmoros later on. So I buckled down and I just put the practice in, and I'm really glad that I did. It's been very rewarding kind of seeing myself become more proficient at a vehicle that I struggled with, and that's something that when I was a brand new sim racer, I experienced a lot more often, getting into a car and just frankly sucking at it, and having to go through that process of really, learning the ins and outs of that car, because not everything drives the same. That's one of the great things about sim racing is there is so much out there that requires different skills, different driving styles, and to really become an all around proficient sim racer, you've got to practice on a lot of different cars. So it kind of brought me back to some of those earlier days of just beating my head against a wall, so to speak, with a certain car or track, or maybe both, and watching that skill level increase in a very notable way, and how good that felt. And it was just that same kind of feeling over and over again, where it's like you really feel like you kind of at some point unlock something a little bit. And even though, as you can see here, as I fumble my way around Guaporé, I'm not great in this car by any means. I've still got a lot to learn, a lot of bad habits in my driving to iron out before I could really call myself good in this car. I'm far too heavy on the throttle coming out of the corners, which is one of the primary things that's going to want to, spin this thing around. That and just not being smooth on your initial braking and when you come into harder, braking zones. But if you can get some of this skill down to the point where you're able to get the car around the track, especially if you can do it proficiently, those are skills that are going to transfer to sim racing just in general, whether it be other cars that have similar handling characteristics, or even just situational things like being able to catch a slide better, which is this car is a giant exercise, and at least for me, in catching a slide. There's a lot of it, so it's something I highly recommend, even if you don't feel like generally you like really oversteer prone cars. Challenge yourself. I'm always looking to challenge myself in sim racing. I hate finding a car that I feel like I don't like, doesn't work for me, and just like bypassing it. Which it's easy to do that, and it makes sense to do that. Most people, you only have so much time to race. If you're not having fun with something, it doesn't click with you right off the bat. Like, why waste your time with it, right? When you have other cars to choose that you have a lot more fun in. And I can't fault anybody forever for just going to something that they have more fun in. But if you're willing to put the time in, coming out of that, it's oftentimes you'll not see find that you wasted time, and you unlock fun for the future. And that's something that I really enjoy about doing that whole going through that process, is taking things that weren't an option for me and making it an option to have fun with. It's kind of like if you have a food you don't like and you could somehow make yourself like it. I get hit from behind here. You're just giving yourself one more option of something to eat that's tasty that you don't have to, turn down later on in life, which I always think is a good thing. And a few notes on this track here, Guaporé. This is actually one of the Brazilian tracks that as I'm losing position here because I'm talking too much. This is one of the tracks that I ran more than a lot of the others. And that was actually just down to the way I kind of was going through them. I was emulating some different Brazilian series, and this is one that kept popping up in some of the, lower level series that I was going through as I was kind of making a little like career mode for myself. I kept coming back here, and the more I raced it, the more I found myself really enjoying it, especially the a lot of on-cambered corners. You can carry a lot of, speed through, at least more so than you would if they, were flat. It has, it's got some interesting characteristics, and especially that just that alone, like almost every corner is on camber. But otherwise, it does give you some different looks, different speeds of corner. Got some, more hairpin style. You've got, at least one you can take fairly flat in a lot of cars. Not this one though, not for me. The way it's set up, you're gonna start oversteering if you do that. Yeah, this is one I like quite a lot, especially for cars that maybe are a little lower powered, which this one definitely is not. Not yet getting into the point where it's too much for this. And really, if you're like a car type enough, like a class enough, it doesn't. You can have fun on most tracks, whether they're smaller ones. Sometimes that actually can make for some great racing, tightening things up, forcing you to adapt different strategies than you might, more open track. Well, so far I am up 2 spots from my start, but I have let these guys ahead get a little far out. Probably because I keep doing things like that, but mostly because I keep talking. But got about 1 minute 15 seconds left. Let's see if I can play catch up here as I try to shift into a 7th gear that I don't have. It's always when I know I'm not paying as close of attention to the racing as I should be. I don't even know what gear I'm in. I doubt I'm going to catch up here, but I'll see how close I can get. Yeah, this car here really, it comes down to good throttle and braking control. And, gear selection corners is very important as well. Oh no, I didn't put enough gas in? Oh, Jesus. Well, we're just gonna roll with it. Oh my god. I put in what I thought would sure be enough. Man, that's gonna be disappointing if I run out of gas. And earlier in the series I kept having races where I didn't adjust my fuel and was carrying way too much, which, was affecting how I compared to the AI, especially, as far as either giving me an advantage because I was turning the AI level down, but later on in the race as my fuel dropped, being quicker than I otherwise was at the start, or, not giving me an advantage and just having too much weight compared to them. But I eyeballed it here. Didn't necessarily calculate anything. I'm definitely gonna lift. Going into some fuel save mode, which is going to lose me my precious positions here. I'll be alright though. I think this might be the last time around. If not, I'm in trouble. So I really hope I cross the line here and get the race over. Okay, woo! Oh, we just ran out of fuel. Oh man, that's one of those things you just can't write it. As always, thanks for joining me. I greatly appreciate you riding along as I barely made my way to the finish line here at Guaporé. Hope you'll join me again in a later video where you can see if maybe I learn how to use a proper fuel calculator. We'll catch you later.